election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation.
Woo, woo, the crowd says woo. They love saying woo, don't they? They love the whole woo thing. So whose family was cheering for there? It gets a little confusing when the Democrats show up in the hall, and here's the guy with the housekeeper that he knocked up with the stepdaughter covered with tattoos that looks like she escaped from Bergen-Belsen from the mental ward. The Democratic Convention wraps up in Chicago. Surprising lack of violence. There was a certain amount of violence and a whole bunch of arrests and burning the American flag. They love burning the American. It's a Democrat gathering. You got to burn the American flag. In fact, one of the panelists on CNN, not a left-wing lunatic, they had one normal person on the CNN panel, last night observed, he said, hey, I see a bunch of Democrats waving the American flag there in the crowd. He said, it's kind of funny because normally you guys are burning the American flag. Nobody at the CNN table laughed. They didn't laugh at all. I don't know why they didn't think that was funny. It was pretty funny. They don't like it when they're mocked, when they're ridiculed. Saul Alinsky teaches us in Rules for Radicals that ridicule is your most potent weapon. And the left, they've been using it for years because they study communist agitators and they've been implementing these policies and approaches for a great many years now. Of course, Barack Obama, a great follower of the radical left-wing agitator Saul Alinsky and all of that. But never Hillary Clinton also, she actually interned and worked with Saul Alinsky himself, the communist agitator. And they pretend he was just like a regular kind of cocktail party guy, no big deal. But in any case, they wrapped up last night, and Kamala Harris was there, introduced by her sister, the younger, more attractive sister, wouldn't you say? I think, probably younger, but probably some envy going on, maybe a little two-way envy. You know how sisters can be sometimes. But the sister introduced, and then Kamala came out, and she spoke for quite some time. She was other people's words, of course, teleprompter, and looks like she stayed pretty strictly. The teleprompter didn't deviate much. It turns out that they're really good and Republicans are really bad, especially Donald Trump. He's really bad. Of course, there was no war in Europe, no war in the Middle East, no American hostages being held. Iran wasn't funding and fueling Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthi rebels and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and never mind all that. But now under the Democrats, we've got war everywhere you look. The Chinese are gearing up. They're getting ready. They're patient, though. They're taking the long approach. They are, and they see the Democrats. In fact, this is a danger zone from this point until Inauguration Day when it comes to the Chinese and Taiwan, for example, and perhaps beyond. But never mind that. And remember the terrible old days when gasoline was $2.11 a gallon. That was awful. And our grocery store shelves were full, overflowing with the bounty that is free market capitalism. The Democrats, they want to put an end to all that. Well, they've been putting an end to all that. And now Kamala is acting, and this is kind of an amazing thing. They've been acting for the last 4 days at the Democratic Convention in Chicago as though they haven't been in charge for the last 4 years. These aren't their policies. They want to overthrow themselves. Of course, they have already overthrown themselves, haven't they? The Barack Obama wing of the party, they've overthrown the Democrat Party. They forced out the sitting president because his brain, she's a no good. But they don't care about that. What they do care about is the polls. And the polls showed that Joe Biden was in trouble and that he might not win, and then their power would be taken from them. And that's why they kind of did this like Cold War assassination, this non-assassination. Speaking of which, another would-be Trump assassin was arrested by the police in Arizona yesterday while President Trump was in Arizona. And this guy, he's a sex offender. He's got a number of outstanding warrants. He's a Democrat, say no more. He's a Democrat, and he was talking up a big thing online about killing President Trump, and therefore he was arrested. But they'll probably let him go. Trump's going to be in Arizona today too, so they might just let him go because they do a lot of that. They like letting criminals go, the Democrat judges and so on. Yeah, but another would-be assassin yesterday, Trump assassin, arrested. Have you noticed? And the Iranians, they had this plot, right? And they grabbed this Pakistani guy in New York recently who had been spending his time in Iran, Pakistani Muslim. Not that that's got anything to do with it, because there's nothing to see there. No such thing as radical Islam. And, Kamala, she likes talking about that. She doesn't like people talking about radical Islamic terrorism, because that's not PC. And, of course, if you can't talk about that, I guess in the 1930s, can't talk about Germans being Nazis just because so many Germans are Nazis, and Nazis are bad. You don't want to label all Germans as Nazis just because so many Germans were Nazis. That's the thing. In the 1930s, and you don't want to talk about radical Islamic terrorism because that would be impolite. And no person is illegal. You don't want to talk about illegal aliens either, just because they're raping and murdering and savaging and looting and invading homes and all that stuff. In fact, President Trump yesterday in Arizona was with the mother of a woman that was raped and murdered by an illegal alien while out for a walk in Maryland, a mother of 5. And the Democrats, that didn't come up at the convention for days. They didn't talk about all the crime wave of illegal aliens and the Venezuelan gang members and the open border. They didn't talk about that. They didn't talk about gasoline prices. But now Kamala's the energy president, right? And the secure border president, right? And the pro-fracking president. She's just reversed herself on all of her key issues. And the news media either hasn't noticed or they've just decided consciously while, engaging in pillow talk with one another that they just won't mention it. They just don't bring it up. Amazing stuff. Also in Chicago, because they decided to have the convention in Chicago, Democratic delegate robbed at gunpoint by men in ski masks during Chicago convention. Sure. Well, it's August in Chicago, so why wouldn't the multiple men be wearing ski masks, jumping out of their car with guns to rob and kidnap and steal and all that stuff? One of the big things in Chicago now is Democrats jump out of cars with ski masks and guns, and they kidnap you and put you in the car, and they take you from ATM to ATM to use your ATM card over and over again because they think you can keep using it because they went to Chicago public schools. Honestly, I think there's a cap, right, on what you can take out every day. It's not like you go to the next ATM and you can take out more once you've taken out the max, right? But the Democrats, this is a big thing in Chicago now. It's called kidnapping, but they're not calling it that. And the Democrats with ski masks and guns jump out of their cars, which they may have stolen and carjacked or whatever. And they're taking people from one ATM to another, telling them to use their ATM cards over and over again. And that's a big thing in Chicago these days, but pay no attention to that. So one delegate, at least, and maybe more, robbed at gunpoint by Democrats wearing ski masks. It's Democrat on Democrat violence. I wonder if they said, this MAGA country. What do you think? Maybe it's like a Juicy Smollett moment there. Pretty amazing stuff. And pro-Palestinian delegates say their request for a speaker at DNC was shut down. They're pro-Hamas. They're pro-terrorist. They have delegates that are pro-Hamas and want to kill all the Jews. Just don't call them fascists or anything like that, or anti-Semites, because they'll shut that down too. Amazing stuff. Yes, sir. So they got that, and the pro-Palestinian delegates very upset that they didn't have a speaking role, so they could pound a machete on the podium and yell about the Jews and from the river to the sea and all that stuff. I can't believe they shut them down. Really remarkable stuff. But there was a relative lack of violence and looting and arson. There was a lot more violence and looting and arson expected at the Democratic convention because the Democrat Party has a long and storied history of mob, street, political violence, and they brought tens of thousands, they said, mobs into, people to make up their mobs into Chicago to wreak havoc, and they only did an okay job. You know what I say? It's, yeah. Yeah. Activist given prime RNC speaking slot is now a pro-Israel Democrat. You can see how that would have thrown me there, attending the DNC. Wait, they had a pro-Israel delegate? Must have had extra security for that person. Amazing stuff. Also, Coach Tim Walz. Turns out, he's an assistant coach. He wasn't the head coach. He didn't lead the football team to the state championship. The head coach did. But he's going around claiming that he was a command sergeant major and that he retired as command sergeant major when he didn't, because he didn't complete the necessary work to be a command sergeant major. And then he claimed that he carried a weapon of war in war when he didn't do that, unless he's talking about going to downtown Minneapolis during the Black Lives Matter riots. And as J.D. Vance said yesterday, I played the audio yesterday anyway, and now Tim Walz has gone to Chicago so he can say that he's gone to a war zone. Not armed, but that's okay. And it turns out, he wasn't really the head coach. They brought in signs saying Coach Walz, thousands of them. The signs should have said Assistant Coach Walz, because he wasn't the head coach. What about the guy that was the head coach? Doesn't he deserve credit for his hard work? Well, the Democrats will redistribute credit where redistribution of credit is due. Remarkable stuff. But they brought members of the old high school team from a century ago out on stage. And now Coach Walz called out after ex-players hit the DNC stage because he wasn't the head coach who led them to their statewide victory. There was another guy, and he wasn't there, apparently. Remarkable stuff. Also, Tim Walz. He's got a son who I believe is 17 years old. 17-year-old son was there at the convention, and he has special needs, because I think everyone does now. And Tim Walz under fire after viral video captures him aggressively pulling his son Gus. His son's name is Gus, and pulling son Gus on DNC stage. Quote, shows his true colors. Looks like he's getting a little rough, physically rough, with his special needs son, who's 17 years old, who was being emotional. And he got a big grab by the assistant coach, and yanked real good. Could have pulled his shoulder out of joint. Pretty remarkable, but that's okay, because Democrats, they cover that up, just like with Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein and Bill Clinton and Anthony Weiner and John Edwards and so many others. They're fine with covering stuff up. Democrat Party has a big cover-up machine, like James Carville during the Bill Clinton days, where the bimbo eruptions and all the women, where they smeared and slandered all the women. The war room, and they waged war against the women that Bill Clinton had sexually abused, and they're still covering it up for him, honestly. Speaking of Hillary Clinton, she where was she last night? Was she even in the room? I don't think I saw her. Hey, here she comes. Boom, 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 boom. She's a block away now. Boom, boom, boom. And I mentioned this too, but CNN crew silent as pro-Trump analyst cracks himself up, joking about Democrats usually burning American flags. That's a fact, Jack. Kamala Harris, lots of tax increases for her, and she says that she's going to lower taxes on the middle class. Problem is, nobody falls into the category of middle class when you get down to brass tacks. Why would you get down to brass tacks anyway? Isn't that amazing? Who is it? Oh, Jen Psaki. She was on Where They Pay Her $1 Million, MSDNC, saying that Kamala Harris is as likable, as charming as Hillary Clinton. Talk about damning with faint praise. That could be the new dictionary definition of damning with faint praise. But wait till you hear this one, because Even the New York Times knows better, not that they're going to admit it now. Yes, sir. And how many assassins are the Democrats going to set loose on Donald Trump and Supreme Court justices? How many suicide attacks have the Democrats launched, murderous suicide attacks? How many self-immolations, and why haven't there been more? We're at 888-630-9625.
And I also think we'd be a lot better off if we actually talked to each other instead of yelling at each other.
Did you know that Hillary Clinton has a magical, charismatic quality? Just like Kim Jong-un. Yeah, wait till you hear this stuff. Great stuff. And I have a little flag burning for you because we're wrapping up the Democratic convention. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Marco calling from Springfield, Virginia. Marco, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Thanks for taking my call.
You betcha.
Hey, I was channel surfing the other day, and I came across the movie Idiocracy.
Uh-huh.
And if you're planning on voting for Kamala, I suggest you watch that movie. It's going to be, if you have Verizon Fios, it's going to be on sometime today. So set your DVR and watch that movie because that's what you people are doing. Another thing is, they keep asking Joe about if Trump gets reelected, is he going to go peacefully? Is there going to be a problem? What they need to be asking him is, when Trump wins, are you guys going to go peacefully? Because I think they ought to cancel all the public ceremonies, including the inauguration parade, because it's getting just too darn dangerous for the poor man. And we all know he's running because he loves this country, not because he needs the money or fame or any of that stuff. So let's stop the nonsense and let's start thinking about safety. But I'm watching that DNC, and I just can't believe what's coming out of that woman's mouth. It's sickening. And
the rest of them, too. The party has gone mad. And you're absolutely right, Marco, of course, and it is an important topic of conversation. And, the post-election day America is, we've got to brace for any eventuality. And again, another would-be Trump assassin arrested in Arizona yesterday, right, Marco?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a shame, but I just have to say, for those people that plan on voting Kamala, that's what I call her. You really haven't been paying attention for these past 4 years, and either you're incredibly ignorant, incredibly uninformed, or just plain stupid. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah. Well, you're right, of course, and you're absolutely right about the post-election day period. Don't worry about the peaceful transfer when Kamala wins, but when Trump wins, that's where the danger zone begins. When I think Hillary Clinton, the words that come to mind are magical, charismatic, quality. They're not really. I'm only kidding. As nobody's ever thought those words when they're thinking about Hillary Clinton. Certainly not Bill Clinton, who still has, the remnants of contusions on his head from the big glass White House ashtrays that bounced off of his cranium and the lamp that she threw at him, and the Secret Service agent driving the armored limousine that she attacked from the back with her claws, and she's magical, charismatic quality. That's what the media is peddling now. They will peddle anything. I mean, honestly, Joseph Goebbels is embarrassed. He's blushing in hell watching what the Democrats get away with. A lie told once remains a lie. A lie told 1,000 times becomes the truth, and you know who they're channeling.
Did I hear you correctly say that perhaps he was influenced by Gurgle?
Could have been Gurgle. It might have been Gurgle. But since we're talking about Gurgle, there was an amazing moment last night on MSDNC, where they pay Joe Biden's White House press secretary $1 million to go on there and lie. They lie all the time. Boy, when these people lie, it's the one thing they're good at. They're not good at anything else. It's it's a kakistocracy that we're living in, and worse. Kakistocracy, as any child of 6 can tell you, is a government, a rule by the least suitable and the least competent citizens in society. And that's exactly what we have here in the United States right now, because the Democrats, and I marvel at the stuff, the shamelessness of these people. They pretend that Hillary Clinton is anything other than what she is. And if you just look up Hillary Clinton, likable. You remember Barack Obama when he was running and Hillary Clinton was out there and she was just doing everything she could to destroy the world as usual. And Barack Obama explained, I think it was during a debate, a Democrat Party debate, and Hillary was being kicked to the curb by her party, as they do so often. And Barack Obama said,
I don't think I'm that bad.
You're likable enough.
Thank
Hillary,
you so
much.
You're likable enough. That's once again, damning with faint praise. That's kind of the definition of damning with faint praise, too. Remarkable stuff. But if you just look up Hillary Clinton likable, the likability discussion, and they try to blame it on her being a woman, allegedly. But the Democrats, they're quite amazing. Last night on MSDNC, they had the spokeswoman for the Biden White House, who was immediately hired by a national television organization, to go on there and lie, just like they hire every other Democrat, and then they pretend that they're journalists. And you don't have to have any background in journalism or anything else. But Jen Psaki last night, she says it's pronounced Psaki, but there's a P on the front. Wonder what happens when she gets pneumonia. What do you think? But Jen Psaki last night was on MSNBC, and Kamala was speaking, going on and on. And Jen Psaki, I mean, this is like unintentionally laugh out loud funny. Jen Psaki talking about Kamala's likability, and she's got an analogy that she wanted to make.
She has this magical, charismatic quality in person. So do a lot of politicians. People say that about Hillary Clinton. Also true. The public has to see it in order to get you elected.
Yeah, and if the public doesn't see it, just say it 1,000 times, even though it's as untrue as any words that have ever been uttered, and then it will become the truth, just like Gurgle said. Because, the Reverend Al Sharpton, he's on the same television network as Jen Psaki. A magical, charismatic quality. That is, if you watch MSNBC, and that's where you get your news. That's what Kamala Harris has, a magical, charismatic quality. And that's what Hillary Clinton has.
Why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask?
I might ask that. With your magical, charismatic quality, I can't imagine that anybody would not see that magical, charismatic quality. This is the kind of propaganda that you get, honestly, in communist China for Xi Jinping and Chairman Mao. He had a magical, charismatic leaders like Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. This is the left tells us that Che Guevara, who was a racist mass murderer, and of course Fidel Castro, who was, I presume, a racist also, and certainly a mass murderer and a slave driver and all that, and a hero of Barack Obama, by the way, who went there and gave him a tongue bath from top to bottom. But never mind that, and posed in front of a building-sized wall mural of Che Guevara, a racist murderer who would have lined Barack Obama up against a wall and had him shot. He wouldn't shoot him himself. He's too busy eating a lavish lunch being served to him by slaves. But the Democrats, they like that because their brains are the brains of leftists.
We came, we saw, he died.
That was our chief diplomat laughing about the president of Libya being murdered by his own people after we bombed the country for 8 months and left it in the hands of ISIS. Another Obama administration victory, I suppose. They bombed more countries than any administration since World War II, but pay no attention to that. Now, as for the magical, charismatic quality of Hillary Clinton, since Jen Psaki, White House spokeswoman for the current president of the United States, theoretically, I just did a little search on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him, talk about being a charter member of the patriarchy. There's Al Gore. Has he had his chakra released yet? Because, every time he goes to a masseuse anywhere in the world, he requests that they release his chakra. Have you ever had your chakra released at a masseuse place? Because hang on just a second. Would you please wear rubber gloves while you do that? More lube. That's pretty amazing. But I decided to look this up today since Jen Psaki said it last night. And I found, for example, U.S. News and World Report with the headline, Hillary Clinton's likability problem, that's the beginning of the headline, has nothing to do with her womanly qualities. Is that right? Nothing to do with, and that's the thing, is the Hillary Clinton's likability problem. What are you talking about there? And amazing stuff. CNN had the story December 20th of 2017, 4 theories why Hillary Clinton isn't popular. What are you talking about? She's got a magical, charismatic quality. It's magical. And here's a headline from Yahoo News. Why you find Hillary Clinton unlikable. That's the headline. Pretty remarkable stuff. The New York Times had their big story at the time. Their big story, why is Hillary Clinton so hated? But wait a minute, I just heard from Jen Psaki, who's a propagandist for the Democrat Party, a front woman. Is she a woman? Because I don't know any pictures on the internet that might conflict with that. Remarkable stuff. The New York Times, why is Hillary Clinton so hated? But wait a minute, she's magically charismatic. And you can't say magically delicious, like delicious breakfast cereal or something like that. But right, quite amazing. The 40-year campaign to destroy Hillary Clinton, the hunting of Hillary, the New York Times. Amazing stuff. Yeah, she'd do that more frequently. Remarkable stuff. So on MSDNC, that's the magical, charismatic quality. And they're so desperate, they're so pathetic and so sad, the Democrat Party, that Jen Psaki, again, White House spokeswoman for the current president, now current host of a 1-hour show on a national NBC news network, 24-hour news network, allegedly. And she's trying to assure us that Kamala Harris is as magically charismatic as Hillary Clinton.
She has this magical, charismatic quality in person. So do a lot of politicians. People say that about Hillary Clinton. Also true.
Nobody ever said that about Hillary Clinton. They just, if they're talking their line, if they're breathing their line, when they sit silently alone in their cars with surgical masks on, they're lying silently. These people they're the opposite of truth.
The voters are tired of people who lie to them. They're tired of people who act like something they're not.
She says with a fake Southern accent. Tired of people who act like they're something they're not. Isn't that amazing? Why is Hillary Clinton so hated? The New York Times.
I'm really not even a human being. I was constructed in a garage.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you, Democrats, aren't they amazing?
Sometimes I wish we weren't married. Then I could say what I really think. Bill, he was at the convention, but that's only because he heard they had an internship program. And he wanted some mogambo. He's always on the hunt for a little mogambo. Bill. Remarkable stuff. Now, let's go over to CNN now. Let's go to CNN because CNN had some moments too. Last night, and this is a fun one, number 18. They had a Republican on, kind of amazing, on CNN, and he was sitting at the table, the big table. And it's surrounded by Democrats, except for one guy there, Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings was there at the table, CNN. They like to prove, so they have like 6 left-wing Democrats that hate America and hate you. And then they have one Republican guy, and in this case, it was Scott Jennings. And they're very upset with him now because he said something funny. And again, ridicule is something that they adopted a long time ago thanks to the agitator Saul Alinsky, and they're all devotees, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and the media don't even know it most of the time, but remarkable stuff. Scott Jennings
He's at the Institute of Politics at the Harvard University, and he was at the table last night, and they did a cutaway to the crowd, a camera cutaway to the crowd, and there were a number of people that had, and I think there was Tim Walz, who's the assistant coach, and the people next to him were waving American flags that had been issued. They're like 1 foot American flags on wooden sticks that they hand out to crowds. And then every time you see these things at Democrat gatherings, they're all in the garbage can. The garbage can is all full of American flags, and somebody invariably gets a picture of the garbage cans filled with the American flags that were handed out. And if you have video, you can get the Democrats spitting on them before they throw them in the garbage can. Sometimes they set them on fire, blowing their nose with them. Sometimes they set them on fire. And we had, now, actually, let's go to because just a couple of days ago, I played the audio of the Democrats burning the American flag, and they were burning the Israeli flag, too, at the Democratic Convention. And you got these radicals with ski masks on. I just told you the story out of Chicago. The delegate was robbed at gunpoint by Democrats in Chicago wearing ski masks in August, and that's fine. But here are some Democrats at the convention burning the American flag, and not to be overlooked, they were also burning the Israeli flag because they hate the Jews.
Hey. Burn the American flag. They already did, idiot. It's our country. It's our country. Burn the American flag. Burn it down. Burn it down. No, you guys are the enemy. Don't burn the I don't care what you say. Don't burn the American flag.
Most people are concerned about polarization in the United States of America, and the Democrats, communists that they are, they like to blame Republicans for polarization because it's balkanization, but polarization works to some degree or another too. Democrats prefer to subdivide and pit groups against one another based on race and ethnicity and gender and income and geographic region. And, these are leftists, not liberals. And that reminded us this morning when we were going through this of the Hillary Clinton nominating convention in 2016 in Philadelphia. You remember when they forgot to bring a single American flag to the convention center until they were shamed into going somewhere and stealing American flags and bringing them to the convention center. But there were a couple of people outside that found American flags, at least enough to burn them. And you may remember this is a great soundbite, and it was a police officer standing by while the Democrat mob was burning American flags. And one idiot Democrat was jumping and pouncing and stamping on the American flag that he had just set on fire and spitting on it because he wanted to demonstrate his disapproval in myriad ways. And a police officer had to let the flag burner know that there's something he should be paying attention to.
You're on fire, stupid!
Hey, you're on fire, stupid. Wait a minute. You're burning the American flag. You're spitting on the American flag, and now you're stamping on and dancing on the American flag, just like William Ayers in that New York Times story that appeared in the New York Times on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. The paper hit the newsstands with William Ayers, a tenured college professor, radical communist terrorist. Naturally, he gets a tenured position at a major American university. And he was being interviewed in the New York Times as a glorious depiction of what a wonderful communist terrorist he is. And he's stamping on the American flag in an alley because that's what they do.
Move back! Move back! Watch it! You're on fire! You're on fire, stupid!
And they want to defund the police. If there had been no police, that guy might be dead now or permanently, And we've also had 4 Democrats self-immolate in the last 2 years. I think it started at the Supreme Court on Earth Day when a Democrat, I believe from Colorado, came to Washington to kill himself on the steps of the Supreme Court by self-immolation because he was sick and tired of people putting smoke into the air. I didn't say he was smart, but we got that. Remarkable stuff. Wait, I haven't even gotten, let's get to, now, Scott Jennings on CNN last night.
Pretty loud in here right now. It's maybe the loudest we've seen it during the convention. I think there's more people in here. These American flags were sort of startling to me, Van. Normally you guys are burning these things, but tonight you're waving them. Just kidding.
Can I say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
And he laughed at his own joke. Now he's talking to Van Jones, who used to self-describe as a communist. Now they pay him 7 figures Nobody's asked him lately if he's still a communist. Scott Jennings, the one Republican on the panel, he had to laugh at his own joke because they don't do self-deprecation. They don't do humble and modest. They don't do the truth either, the obvious truth. We do. And we are at 888-630-9625.
This is what we think of your flag. The only acceptable American flag is one that is burned to char.
All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to, and it's tough. I don't know, it's a tough call. Let's go to, because, fun is fun. Let's go to Terry calling from Charleston, South Carolina. Terry, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Good to talk to you again.
Welcome.
I actually witnessed the idiot in Cleveland set himself on fire.
The guy stomping on the flag, the one that we just played, You're on Fire, Stupid?
Right. A group of us were walking to the that afternoon's convention proceedings, and there was a whole crowd of, I think they were communists, I don't remember. They had all kinds of paraphernalia, and this guy he stomping on the flag and set himself on fire.
That's fun. Do you have your camera handy? Because, that's fun. Terry, we try not to call names. We just call them Democrats.
Well, I think I actually think these guys were communists. They were. I think they had communist paraphernalia and stuff, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they do, and they have the Party for Socialism and Revolution, and they have the Socialist Workers Party that show up, and they've got their logos on their signs all over the place, Terry, and the news media sees them, but the news media never mentions that, do they?
No, they don't. But they've got a candidate now. I think she's named Kamala, right?
Kamala. Yeah, that's how I have the headline from the New York Post in the office next door. Kamala.